So thank you very much. I will start for that. Last time I did something like this, took like 2 hours and a half, and I'm going to do it in 45 minutes, so I'm sorry. I tell you that already. I'm Sergio Ocón. So this is a proposal, the first thing. So if you don't agree with me, that's fine. If you think that we're wrong, that's even better. So just talk to us in whatever means you can have, Jitter, in GitHub, in whatever, because we are really open to new things. This is just a proposal because we've been working for this a few months, and there's a need to overhaul what we have there in the system, and this is the proposal. We think it will be feasible, and at the same time, it gets a lot of things there. So the other thing is, if you want to code with us, happy to accept contributions. This is a community project, in fact. There's like 4 companies working on this today. We want more. So, yeah, nobody talks about agenda in this meeting, so I will go through that. The first thing is, what is the problem? We are not trying to solve every problem here. So that you won't find a billing system of our ERP. That's not what we try to do here. What we're trying is basically to report accurately on the economic side of the cloud. A cloud, one of the things is the technology is there, but in order to manage it and to use it fully, you need to understand what it costs you. So the idea we have is to make everything possible. So when you are using ManageIQ to manage your cloud or your virtual infrastructure, you really know what is going there. So where the cost is going and what could happen if the cost will go to another level, to another place. Just thinking of moving from one vendor to the other, that's got a lot of implications in licensing, in costs, in hidden costs that you have, in personnel. So that's something we need to solve. And I'm not saying it's easy, and I'm not saying it's going to be quick, but that's what we want to do. So basically, that's one step. Once we understand what is going there, the next step will be take decisions based on that. So where is the best place to put my workload? So one of the key decisions in a cloud is where it's going to be cheaper for you to put it there, or just basically where you get the most money out of the throughput or whatever you're really carrying. So if you have one network that's very good on throughput and another that is very good in memory, one of the things is what is the cost of your workload because of those characteristics of the environment. So the other thing is we are not a billing system. And a billing system is a very complex thing. And they are very expensive, and they are very specific, and there's a lot of things around that. So if you think of a billing system, you need to think of taxing. And here in the US, taxing is like, well, I don't even understand how you do it in this country. So in Europe, it's easier. But here, you can even have packages just to do taxing. So we are not going that way. And the other thing is, many of the companies that are going to be using that already has a billing system in place and already have solving and paying to be solved all that nuances on taxing, on legal, on being able to do the things the way the government is asking things to be done. So one of the objectives here is, if that's in place, let's integrate with that. Let's put there things that allows the ERP or allow the billing system or whatever system is in place to do their job properly. Because most of the information we have, like the relationship between VMs and hardware and all of that, is very good for billing, but it's not available to other tools in the market. So another thing you need to see is that there's 2 types of costs in a system. The first one is the bottom-up approach. So if I have this hardware, it will cost me an amount, and I have to know which is the cost of this. But that doesn't mean that the cost of this for the company is going to be the cost that is associated to me, because I can be paying in a different model, or I can be paying a different amount. I always say that when you have your company paying for your trips, and you have that fancy travel agency, normally the discount you get, you don't see that, but your company do. because they get the volume discount, you don't see that. So there's always two levels, what you're paying and what your company is paying. So we have to do both things. We have to do the spends, what is the cost the user is going to be paying for using the services, and then the cost itself of using the infrastructure to deliver the services. And they are related. That doesn't mean they are the same, or that even a mathematical formula to go from one to another. They normally are related, only that. And there's another thing. Normally you start the year, and you all know that. You start the year, you know that you have this amount of money to spend. And it's important to spend it. It's important that you use it, because if you don't use it, normally you lose it for the next year. So one of the things you have in the cloud, if I know how much I'm going to spend in the year, couldn't it be fine to have a graphical representation of that, so I know at the middle of the year that I should spend more, or that I'm going too far and I need to step back because I'm spending too much? And that's also a relationship we want to do that. And of course, I know it's not a forecast. You realize English is not my first language, so if you have a better definition for all of this, please do it. Because I know the Spanish version of this. I don't know the English version. And then revenue is not the same in UK and in the USA, so you're very complicated. So one of the things that's missing, and I think is important, and you need to cope with that, is that there's different things in a service. So let's think of those two ways. So far, we are charging basically on a reporting on usage for storage and a reporting on usage for CPU. That's everything you can do. But that's not reality. Reality is that you have networking, you have containers, you have services, you have things like a managed service provider. So if it's managed, your VM will be more costly, or you have an operating system on top of that. So if you go to the cloud, it's not the same cost if you have the operating system installed or if you install it yourself. And it's not the same rules about how you're going to be doing. So we guys just basically need to get all of these together into a single price list. And that's very complicated. We've been investigating different price lists, and yes, using Amazon, OpenShift Online, well, of course, the Red Hat price list, and using Google Cloud price list, there's major differences in the way you're using. So things like volume discount, where you apply the cost either to the project or to the VM or to the operating system or to the throughput in the network or to the storage, or that things are different based on provider. So we were talking before about provider types and the managers. So basically, we have come to the conclusion that the only way to do chargeback in a flexible way is doing differently depending on the manager. So every time you have a manager type, a different EMS, then you need to have assignments made different. So in some places, you will be assigning to one level or assigning to the other. And that means the direct cost and the indirect cost has to be there. Because if you think, just using Google as an example again, in Google, you pay for the traffic in the network for all your VMs. If you have 1,000 VMs, they get all the traffic aggregated, and then you pay on that. So if you want to know how much it costs to have one single VM in your environment, yes, basically you need to go out, get all the traffic, see what is the price for that, and then go back again into the VM and distribute the cost. So we have the rating problem, and we have the cost distribution problem in there. So we need to do that, and then you need to take into account that you have tenants, you have cost centers, you have individual elements. So it's quite an interesting problem to be trying to address. And then again, you go to the next one, and you have the support level, you have the licenses, you have the managed system, and has to be coherent, has to be working together. And you go to others, and if you go to the cloud, supposedly you will need less people working with you, so that cost will be less than if you have in-house, you don't have hardware, There's a lot of things that change from one thing to another. Really, you need to think about. And for every cost, there's going to be the fixed part. So whatever I do, it will cost me some amount. And then I will have my variable part that it will depend on how much I use it. So yeah, it's quite interesting. So we are dividing the problem in two, the rating for one side, and then the cost distribution on the other side. So if we think of cost, that's fun. But if you go to services and the service catalog and the self-service UI and all of that, you have the other product, the top-down problem. Because that's how you charge for that, then it's a decision of the operator, the operation side of the cloud. First, which services are you capable of buying? Can you buy service 3? Can you put that into your cart? Or don't remember how it was called before in the presentation before. So can you put that in there? Can you order that service? It will depend on who you are. There were some things you cannot order. I remember one company that they were said that you could order a Ferrari, that they had a Ferrari in the bill of materials. So if you could order that, I couldn't. Somebody could, but I couldn't go and say, I want the Ferrari to go around Paris I don't think they allow me. And then even if you can order that, how am I going to order that? Because it could be a fixed price, so I pay whatever every month, or I can pay a lower amount every month and then have traffic or usage or whatever assigned to that, and I have different options in that. And that has to be also part of the self-service. It has to be there. So, of course, there's independent cost. You can say cost plus, where you just calculate the cost and then you put something on top of that. Can be income minus. So just basically while your costs are lower than the expenses you charge to other people, it's going to be good for you. If you do the opposite and your expense is lower than the cost of delivering the service, we also want to know that, because that means you're losing money, basically. And then just to say, that's another problem there, is that if you think of cloud service provider, there's more than that, because you can have wholesale prices, a wholesale problem where you're basically selling to businesses, or you have the retail prices where you have that. So let's continue. And that's another part of this, that is that many of the costs in the cloud are not specific to the system. So we're talking about today, you can see the VM, you can see, you can assign costs to that, but there's some, well, mainly cloud. If you have a cloud, the cost will be decided by a third party. Will be Amazon, will be Google, will be Microsoft, but they decide the prices and they change it. And in the cloud, that means they change it quite often. Every few weeks, you will have slight differences in prices, just because the currencies change, just because they decide to change prices on even the price model. So we have to tackle that. And we need to be able to import those costs into the system. We need to understand those costs, because if we want to compare one thing to the other, we need to understand what is exactly there. And then, well, what happened when you renew licensings? What happened when you have public clouds? And we need to put that there in an automatic way. And then we need to keep record of that. Today, when you do rating, when you do chargeback, you only have information about what is happening today. So you basically have a table saying, that's the price. With here, if you compare what happened 3 months ago with today, you will have the same price. And that's not really true. In the cloud, the price 3 months ago should be similar, but it's a very low shoot, because they can do whatever they want. They will change the price model, they will change whatever. And in a cloud environment, you're thinking OpenShift, you're thinking Kubernetes, where you're really creating and destroying pods every few minutes. Every pod can possibly have a different price. So we need to make sure that when we make our calculations, they are using exactly the price that the customer was receiving, or at least that we have some way of knowing what's happening there, so the customer, even if there's some differences, and I was telling at the beginning, this is not a billing system. We try to be accurate, but we don't try to be exact. That has to be there. So we know there's some public APIs, so you can ask Amazon, Google, or Azure about the price today for you, and they will give you the answer today for you. We just need to integrate that into the system. So that's enough for the logic. Well, that's everything we need to do. Yeah, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Yeah, who wants to do it? 3 weeks maximum. So what is the use case? We need the chargeback, we need the rating, but today we have a report on usage. We want to go beyond that. And the first thing we want to know is really understand. Is going there, and so if I'm a CIO or I'm a CEO or just a director or I'm a developer, I just want to go there and know where I am spending my money. I'm spending a lot of money in Amazon where it should be easier and better to do it in Google. Or can I do inside? It is worth the cost of buying 4 machines and install virtualization in my environment because that will cost me. That's the idea here. I know this, I took this picture from Butterfly. It's not a mock-up, it's a Butterfly picture. That's why you have the small numbers there. In Butterfly, they explain what these numbers are for. It's just to show you that this is what we want to do. We want to have the budget, we want to have the information there, so you can see where you are, where you were expecting to be, because this is a management tool. We want to have information about how that is moving, and we want to be able to have information about what is going on in the different places. This is the mock-up. That's why I don't work in the UI. Somebody will, I hope. But that's the thing. It's wow, if I have my budget is going there, and this is the real expense I'm doing, how do I need to change my expenditure to do 100% of my budget at the end of the year? Do I need to buy new VMs? Do I need to do new things? That's one of the things. So that's, yeah, I know that that's not a forecast, and I apologize again for my English, but it's there. The other thing is how I'm spending the costs. I am spending all the money in the networking, so I need to move to a place where networking is better or cheaper. I am spending a lot because I have a lot of memory or CPU. That's the kind of information you need to take decisions on there. So we need to build this kind of graphics and all the elements, and we will be asking and hoping we can do that with C3, D3. That is quite a complicated thing when you don't know it, but that's the goal. That's one of the goals we have to do that. So the first thing is budget. So what is the budget? It's basically what I want to spend. I need to spend this year. I have $1 million. I want to use $1 million at the end of the year. So that's basically management is done in this way. So you define a strategic plan, and you say at the beginning of the year, there's 12 months ahead. I haven't done anything, so this is my budget. This is what is going to happen. This is what I believe is going to happen. And then 3 months later, you go to the 3 + 9, and you say, well, 3 months has passed by. What's really happened? And whatever happened, what is going to happen in the next 9 months? Because that's what I need to manage the business. 6 + 6, 9 + 3, and then you get to the final of the year, and you look at the past year, and you discover you spend half of the money in the last day of the quarter. You know that. That's all that funny stuff you buy in the last quarter, so you have the budget next year. But it's good to have it in a graphic. So let's end there. And then once we have all the information, the next step will be easy. If I have that information, I have the cost structure, I have all the layers, What will happen if I get that 12 years, last year cost, and I put that in another environment? If I move to VMware to Ref, if I move to Ref to Amazon, if I go to OpenStack, how that my cost structure will reflect those changes. Because that, again, is something that is really, in a cloud environment, that's a need. Because if not, you have a virtualization layer with a plus behind, and you're trying to create new words for your virtual environment because it's not a cloud yet. And then compare performance, and I don't have a clue how to do that, but that's something we should do because you don't have workloads. That's stupid. I don't have VMs in the cloud. I have an ERP on the cloud. So I need to be able to say for any transaction I run in my ERP, how much it costs in this cloud, how much it could cost in another cloud, because that's really what I'm interested in. But then again, I don't know how to do it, but we know we need to do it. And then whatever we do, if you go from cloud to physical infrastructure, you will have to cope with OpEx and CapEx. What is my operational expenses? What are my capital expenses? Because mainly you can have a lot of saving on the CapEx, increasing your OpEx, and for one company that will be okay, and for another company that will be a no-go, because that's not the way they manage their business. So that's, again, it's something we want to do. And normally that's like 4 slides ago, that will go like, you are not going to do all of that at the same time. It's just, you can't. So what is the thing you're going to be doing first? So this is our plan, and again, complain, cry, whatever you want. We will be very happy to hear your thoughts on this. So this is the elements we want to build in Chargeback. So you see a happy path here. So you have the charging, you have different charging based on providers that I learned this morning that are not provider. It's management types or management system. But yeah, let's call it provider in this slide, and 5 minutes. Then you have the time database, because we need to do that. We need to store the information. Just think that normally ManageIQ will have 6 months, 3 months of information in the database. For that use cases, we need 1 year. So either we increase, if you use Chargeback, you have like 2 years of data there, and then you have people very, very happy because you are using a lot of storage, and then all the storage people will love you. Or we try to do something that is just storing those data that we need. That's exactly that we need to do the Chargeback, and we forget about all the other fancy stuff because we really don't need the maximum and minimum and medium and everything. We just need to know exactly what was there in a group way, so we can use it to give you a number. So that's the one thing. Yeah, I'm not going into the mediation, but I can talk. With that slide, I can talk for 4 hours. So just ask me, please. Then the next step is guiding. And what is guiding? Well, guiding is guiding. Guiding, that's a good definition. I like that. I will try to explain a little more about that. Guiding is finding the customer. If I have an event, I need to find 2 things to be able to do a rate. First is who is the customer, because the rate is associated to the customer. It's not the same being myself that being another person. So first I need to find who the user is of that service. And when I have him, I will have to find exactly the rate that is going to be applied for that moment for that customer. And that's something we do on the opposite way, because in ManageIQ right now, when you define the report is when you do the guidance. Here, it has to be different. So imagine one of the use cases we have is like you want to charge to any user of this group. And when I say any, that means if a new user comes, he will be charged also. He will receive an invoice. So you need to define who is in that group when you are doing charging, not beforehand. So if a new user enter the system today, what will happen is that you need to go to some place and assign a rate to him. And we need to change that. We need to do guiding, because basically we will run a process saying, run this for every single user in the system. And then we need to find every single user in the system in that period, find the rate, associate to that, generate a report. And of course, you need to do rating, and you have seen improved in the last version of ManageIQ. We've been working on the rating. We want to be working more on the rating, and then you need to know, we need to integrate into services, you need to create the models, all the things we were talking, has to be more complicated, and then you need to do also the cost model. What is the cost association model? What is the cost, external cost? All the things I will reflect into. So there's two other things here that are important. The first one is this. What is the way to make this compatible with any ERP billing system? A worker or any process that is run every week, month, day, whatever, and generate a report. There's a standard in the market that is called XDR, CDR, charging data record, X data record. It's used for telco operators a lot. So if you generate a report on that format, any ERP billing system, data warehouse, will be able to integrate it, almost out of the box. So why could we invent the wheel again if we can go and use that? And that's why, well, spend too much time in a single slide. I told 4 hours, that's, if you can bet, 2 liters of beer if I can speak 4 hours with this. Yeah. So this is another path we have that it's easier to get, but it's powerful. And once you have that, we are working, there's some open source companies in the market that do billing, open source billing. So we are already in contact with them to be able to integrate with their tools, so you can have an end-to-end solution based on open source. That is important. And once we have there, any tool in the system, in the market, will be able to do it, because basically we are reusing a well-known standard. We are just defining a lot of things, and it's already there. So we are just exporting. We need to decide which things we export, but it's there. The other thing is the funny thing of reporting, dashboard, budgeting I talked to you about. So you need to do that, and I think many of the things we need to be doing there is that basically the UI, changing the UI, so there's a better way to get into the report, define them, and see how things are done. But it's basically we want to reuse whatever we can. We are not so crazy. It seems we are crazy. We want to do too many things, but really we are lazy people. Whatever if we can not do it, we're happy not to do it. And then we have billing. Billing is the process of getting all that fancy rating together at the end of the month. So that's billing. In the market, there's invoicing after that, and then you have payment after that. We are not doing invoicing. We are doing a report based on billing, because invoicing has all the legal things. If you go to Portugal, you need to basically go to the government and show how you're doing invoicing. I don't want to do that. I did once. I don't want to do it again. It's complicated enough. And that's not our role. But we need to do billing, because we need to get all that nitty things and put them together in a bill, show it to the customer, and use it. And KPIs, well, you know what a KPI is. So that's there. Some other things, because we are talking about tiers, steps, discounts, advice of charge, and when I talk to people, what is actually a tier? What is a step? So step is a step. It's the minimum thing you charge for. So if your step is 1 gigabyte, even if you do 1 byte, you will spend 1 gigabyte. Tier, on the other half, define how you're going to be right. So the first 3 gigabytes are for free. So that means your rate is 0. After the 3 gigabytes, you get, what was the sample? Okay. So you have 30 cents per gigabyte per month. So in this case, the minimal step, the step is 1 gigabyte. So whatever you do, you will be charged 1 gigabyte. And you get 30 cents over that. And the first 3 are for free. That's so you can find this in any single rate plan we have seen. So yeah, we really need that. And then at the end is discounting, volume discount. There's a lot of discounting out there. We are not going to be doing a discounting, so not the full lot of this. But there's some discount you need, like volume discount, rappels, that financial things. And there's something we need to do, because if we don't do that, basically, we won't be able to replicate Amazon or Google or Azure charging, because that's included there. That example that Eric put before about 30% discount at the end of the month, that means we need to do discounting, because it's already there. And there's the other thing, this bytes of charge. That is just basically an API that you ask, what is the charge for me today of this service? And they will say, this is your charge you're going to get. So it can be integrated into the service catalog, and you can basically ask from outside, what is the price? And it will not tell you what it's going to cost, because the reality can be different, but at least it will tell you what the expected price, the expected cost of the services you're doing. So billing. I explained a little before what is billing, but the important thing here is that it's defined by period. It's not the customer who is doing that. It's not a report on the customer. It's a report that the administration gets to the customer. So I am the one decided that you receive a bill. You are not the one asking for that bill. If you want to do that, that's reporting. You already have a reporting tool, and it's going to be there. So you can use that. It's like, I want you to have an invoice, a bill, so I will tell the system to generate a bill for you at the end of the month with these things. Of course, it's not taxing, it's not payment, there's no collections there, so we are not going to go after you. You didn't pay your bill. You didn't pay. No, there's tool for that. So let's do that, and then let's do some simplified invoicing. Do not report on Chargeback. You always do the same. You got a very complex interface. We can use that, but if we can simplify that, because basically there's like 3, 4, 5 things that you make different. You put the name there, then you have simplified, or you have itemized with all the lines, one by one, or you have them grouped, and that's basically cover 90% of your needs. So why are you going to have somebody learning a more complex tool to do that? And we need to do it independent on reporting, although we will try to reuse everything that we can, so we don't need to reinvent or have a parallel things. Same worker, same things, but just the data will come from different places, and we will be creating and using in different places. Takeaway. This is not a financial reporting system. Your financial people are going to be happy, because they are always happy. The financial people are so happy all the time. Yeah. Well, no. Yeah, my brother is, I was thinking of him, and no, at the end of the month, they are not. But it's basically a tool for strategic management. It's not for the financial people. They have the ERP. We do have the information they need for their billing systems to work in the way they need. This is more for the strategic management of the business. Should I move into another provider? Should I continue doing things in my way? Because that's the kind of information they're going to have. Understanding how the business relates to the hardware, to the infrastructure there. The second thing, we need to integrate with those financial systems. So those people are a little bit happier. I want my brother to be happy, so we need to do something for him. The next thing is multi-layer. At different levels, everything has to be multi-layer, basically because this is changing so fast. And Oleg was saying this morning, there's going to be new providers, so we need to be prepared for new providers, and possibly when you get a new provider, the cost structure will be different than whatever we have. So if we need to change everything just to go with a new provider, that basically means we failed. So I tell you, we failed already. It's going to be difficult not to link it someplace, but we will make everything we can to make it independent. And the other thing is that it's a phased approach to development. We cannot do anything. We're not so crazy. We're trying to do as much as we can. And if you want to help, we will do more things. And it will rock. So thank you very much. Any question? Discuss?
So are you actually, I'm not sure if I understood this correctly, are you only evaluating what is there, or do you also plan on simulating, like pulling data simultaneously from Azure, Google, Amazon, evaluating that on the live workload, seeing which is cheaper, and potentially even going to reshuffle workloads on the other providers because the forecast says that this will be cheaper, so live migrating that from Amazon onto Google because right now Google is cheaper and you will save a few bucks. Is this something you have in mind?
That's exactly what I told you before. There's 2 customers and 2 partners right now working on this, different companies that are using developers to develop this together. One of the outcomes, the objectives of one of the companies, a big bank in Spain, is exactly what you have described. So they want to be able, they want to know 2 things. The first thing is for the management purpose. They want to make sure that in any moment they can know that, well, they have an OpenStack infrastructure. So they want to know that their OpenStack infrastructure at any moment is the more efficient platform. So they want to make sure that they have their internal platform, and that's the best option at any time for them. That's one thing. The second thing, and that's all the management, all the dashboard, and that's one of the things. The other thing is they want to make sure that they can decide when they put a VM into the system or an instance, the best price for that VM, depending on the workload, depending on different things. They want to make the decision of where to position that instance of VM based on economic things. So just go in there and say, today I have a discount on Amazon, so I put my VM in Amazon. Today I have a discount on Google, so I move for Google, or I go to Azure, or just have this type of VMs that are very more efficient in Azure, so I put them in Azure. I broke something. And I have another that is, so yeah. The answer is yes, in the short one, sorry.
More questions? Yeah, there was somebody.
Thank you. Do you plan on doing the cost analysis for an entire workload, which means I have a complex workload using tens and dozens of functions of Amazon, like load balancing and clustering and HA and all that? Are you going to that extent to measure the cost of a complex workload?
Let's be realistic. I'm planning that. I don't know if for this century we will be able to do it. But let's say, basically that's, for us, that's tax. So if you tell me that you have a load balancer, I can use that information to price it. So really, I don't need to understand what is behind. So the model I presented is flexible enough to cope with this kind of use cases. What I don't know if we are capable of putting all the information in a way that you can manage it properly, and you don't spend more time doing that in the interface than really going to Amazon and asking them. So it has to be a balance between managing your system and really doing everything we can do. And I think when we start coding and we see the use cases, that's something, it's in the horizon. But we don't know yet if the world is round or flat. So the horizon can be very, very far. If the world is flat, that horizon is going to be very far. And we don't know yet. We will know.
Other questions?
Will we be able to have multi-tenancy base rates that you say this tenant is paying more or less for the same resources than others? Because as of now, we currently have only one rate for that.
Well, now in the last two sprints ago, we added tenancy rating, so you can define rates different depending on the tenant you have. But yes, you need to have tenancy rating because that's one of the things of all those things is that really the price I get depending on who I am, because if, depending on my volume, I will have one price over another. You can even get free price because you have an offer. So we need to be able to do that. Yeah.
Anything else? Any other questions? No? Okay, so we wrap up here. I have one quick announcement, but Sergio.